Hello, my effluvious children. Today we're reading and critiquing the first part of Journey of the Damned, a dark fantasy story by Jolly Angel. Pop-Pop always told William to stay away from the crevasse. Pop-Pop told him that the place was where the evil spirits traversed from the old world to the new world. He said the spirits would come and pull William into the ground to become part of the defiled, to be dissected and repurposed as a part of the old world. Still, William had a promise to keep. He climbed the hill toward his destination, traversing thorny bushes and the sharp, jagged, pointed tree branches that cleared the thick underbrush. It was as if nature itself wanted to protect the young man. There was a path to the crevasse, but as it was constantly guarded by Henderson and his dog Mullet, William had to forge a path all his own. This did not bother him. William's heart yearned to escape his life. He was the son of cobbler, who was the son of a cobbler, who was the son of a cobbler. 8 unbroken generations of cobblers along, William VI felt as if the universe was dictating his very life. It was not as if he was bad at the craft. To the contrary, he was exceptionally gifted, able to spot defects and mistakes. It made his life much worse, in his opinion, because the townspeople would often request him personally for projects, making his workload large. His father was no better, making him take on his workload so he could attend church gatherings. After William's mother had passed, his father had thrown himself at any chance to partake in the ritual of spiritual renewal. William had very few friends, and rarely got to see them. The only person he got to see was Pop-Pop, his grumpy great-grandfather. Pop-Pop had told William everything he knew, but Pop-Pop always treated him like he was a lesser creature. If William made a complaint, he would be beaten. If he asked to leave before his work was done, he would be beaten. Pop-Pop may have beaten William, but this only hardened him. The thorns scraped against his bare arms, trickles of blood flowing from his cuts, but he ignored it. William moved slowly, with determination, needing only to move a few more feet up the thicket to reach the clearing. "Who goes there?" Henderson spun, casting a light onto William's spot in the brush. The lantern's light bathed the brush like an ocean reclaiming its lost ground at high tide. William was bathing in the light only scant distance from Mullet and Henderson, but the young man was smart. The light may have washed over him, but the brush was thick and claimed its domain with thousands of clawed hands that stretched askew. The black fingers of the brush easily consumed the light and offered the concealment William needed to avoid Henderson's gaze. William just stood still, a calmness washing over him. He never feared consequence, only indecision. He had learned after the 14th time he had asked his Pop-Pop to stop beating him that it was better to be preemptive than it was to cower, or to hope it would not happen again. He just stared at Henderson, his breathing steady. Mullet's growling grew louder, but the dog refused to step any closer. Mullet had once stepped into the brush and had gotten so tangled up that he had needed to wait for Henderson to cut him free, and the whole time a raccoon had been viciously biting the poor beast. Ever since, the big dog had feared the thicket. Stupid raccoons. Come on, Mullet. This road is always creepy." Henderson turned and hurried down the path. "Sorry, Henderson, but I have someone to meet," William quietly spoke to himself as he traversed further up the hill. It was slow going as the thorns pulled at his clothes. The roots of the bushes and trees tried to hinder his movements, but William was patient and determined. All he could think of was his promise, a promise made so long ago. The ravages of time had hardened him, and many painful memories tried to drown out the promise, but he refused to let it be forgotten. It was the only reason he tolerated his Pop-Pop's beatings, the only reason he worked so hard. It was all to see her again, to keep his promise to her. He cleared the woods and stood in the open, in the cool night air. The full moon illuminated him as he broke from the tree line. William straightened his back, striding with the confidence reserved for kings returning from a battle well fought. The night air's cold tongue licked at his scratches, numbing the pain, the breeze lazily pushing leaves out his path. The path was devoid of life, as if death itself would snuff out anything that would try to grow here. This path had only one destination, the crevasse. Many of the townsfolk believed this to be the only way to the old world, that those who walked this path marched into the defiler's house to become sacrificed to the old world. They said that the wind itself whistles a haunting tune that pulls the weak of will into the depths. This is what William had been taught as a child, but William didn't care. He was set with a purpose, and he would not turn back. William replayed the memory in his head once more. The day was old. The sun had started to fall, and the night had turned azure. William played hide-and-seek with his mother. He danced around the tree, hopping to avoid her sight. The red-haired woman had lain down on the blanket she had brought to provide a placement for their picnic. That day was William Ashford VI's birthday, the 2nd day of August. His 5th birthday. His mother, Ashlyn, had decided that they would spend the day playing and eating his favorite foods, apple slices on crispy bread with sharp cheddar cheese. William loved his mother, and she adored the boy more than he could ever know. This was to be their last game before heading home. So William sprinted into the nearby wood and hid in the belly of a hollow oak. He had hidden there before, but he thought his mother would never think to look there again. Giggling loudly, he pressed against the tree. A loud crack sounded, and William fell through the tree onto the other side. Startled, he looked around. The trees had lost their foliage, and soft leaves littered the ground. The reds and browns contrasted against the horizon from his angle, but his eyes were transfixed on the beauty before him. Standing behind a large knotted tree, there stood a girl. She wore a black, almost transparent dress, with tufts of fur that covered her shoulders. Her skin was ashen, but her lips were blood red. Her eyes were large black orbs, seeming to have trapped the night sky within them. Her hair was almost completely white, but he could see a tinge of blue to the strands. An ornate headpiece rested on her crown. Her expression was one of fear, and he could see sharp canines protruding from her face. William stared at her in wonder. He slowly rolled over and began to crawl toward her. She backed away, quickly darting behind another tree. Her long hair hung down her back. William, fearing he might lose her, jumped to his feet. He raced after the girl as she, in turn, ran away. He called out, "Wait, please, I don't want to hurt you." The girl was much faster than him, but he persisted in calling out to her. She would run far enough to break his line of sight, but then he would see her peek back at him. William became frustrated and started to cry. "Please, please stop," he wailed. To his surprise, she stopped and turned to him. Her eyes were no longer black. They had turned white, and she rushed toward him. Her maw now open wide, he could see a second row of teeth, these sharp and hidden by her other teeth. A roar echoed from her small body. William was unperturbed by this, too busy cleaning his nose on his sleeve. When he heard the footsteps, though, he leapt to his feet and tackled the girl in a rolling hug. The ashen girl, completely startled, tried to push him off, but failed to overpower him. He held her tight in glee as he proclaimed, "Yay, a new friend!" The girl began to thrash wildly, even trying to bite William. Fortunately for him, he had an awkward pinning hold protecting him. He finally released his pin, and she scrambled a few feet away, gasping for air. Smiling, William said, "Hi, I am William. What is your name?" The girl's eyes reverted to their normal color. She stared at him, dumbfounded. Finally realizing the boy didn't fear her, she responded, "Renshala, do you not fear me, human?" "Why would I fear a beautiful girl like you? Your eyes are very pretty. How do you get the night sky to stay in there?" He waddled over to her on his knees as he asked his questions. Renshala backed away slowly, trying to keep the distance, but reluctantly let him get closer. Her ashen skin grew pink as she recoiled from his statement. "You think I am pretty?" she asked, smiling a toothy smile. William nodded his agreement. "I am a Yolti. You should fear me." Her eyes turned white, and the color faded from her face. She stood up over the boy, her second set of teeth protruding out. "My kind eats. Humgak?" William had reached his meaty hand into her mouth before she could finish her sentence. "Wow, that is so cool. Wish I could do that. Your eyes are prettier when they're black. Can you teach me to do that teeth thing? It is so cool." William had his thumbs tucked into her cheeks, pulling her cheeks open to try to get a better look. She had to kick him in the shin to get him to stop. The both cried out in pain, and then William began to laugh. "Haha, I am sorry," William said, shaking his head. "Mommy tells me I am to grab when I first meet people." Renshala stared at him, bewildered, then abruptly asked, "Why did you chase me? Why are you not afraid of me? Do you know what I am? Are you stupid or something?" "Because I wanted to be your friend. You are far too pretty for me to be afraid of, and Mommy said never fear pretty girls because they'll eat you alive. You are a girl with white skin, eyes of the night sky, and blue hair in a lovely gown. And if I am stupid, would you still be nice to me and be my new friend?" William blurted back without hesitation. She just stared at him for a minute, and then began to choke out the words, "Do you really wish to be my friend?" Her gaze turned down in a mopey way. William stood and grabbed her hand, pulling her to her feet forcefully, and then quickly turning and beginning to spin with her, their hands clasped tightly. Laughter broke out between them. Renshala's worry faded quickly as they played together. Hours passed till William could no longer see, and he suddenly realized he was out too late. William began to panic. "Ren, can you help me find my mommy?" Tears streamed down his face as he ebbed out the words. It was there again. Her prey returned. The agony of the transformation was only a second, but the desire and hunger was a torture all its own. Renshalla turned back to the sniveling human, her fangs dripping with saliva as she stalked directly toward him. Forgotten was the boy she had spent the day with. All that remained was hunger and an easy meal. "What is wrong, boy? No mommy? Ah, too bad. Do not cry. It will be over soon." Renshalla spoke in a voice like 1,000 voices echoing from all directions. She remained in front of her prey. The blonde curls of his hair bounced as he whipped his head from left to right, searching in the darkness. "Are you afraid of the dark? Do you fear what you cannot see, boy?" Her voice came from in front of the boy, then behind him, more a growl than her normal sweet voice. William turned around, backpedaling toward Renshalla. She did not want to end her game so soon. Her mother had taught her that if you played with food, it tasted better, and this was her first hunt. If she didn't prove herself, then she would be ridiculed by her people. Her mind was filled with images of slowly peeling his tender flesh into strips, starting from his crunchy fingernail and working up. Her stomach roared in protest. She was hungry and needed to eat. She could feel his blood pump in the very air of the night. Every pulse made her throat dry till it was a desert sandstorm. William bumped into her, turned on a dime, and wrapped his arms around her. Renshalla didn't even flinch. She just let him grab her as she slowly bent her neck down to bite into his neck. "I'll protect you." It was not the whisper of a child fearing a predator. It was the defiant decree of someone with a purpose. William's words came from something deep inside himself. William was scared when he thought that his mother would miss him, but as soon as the voices started to speak, the only thing on his mind was Renshalla. He could only think of her, how she felt, how she was only just like him. These woods were supposed to be home to monsters. Any one of them could harm her. He may have been only a boy, but he could protect her till she could find a place to hide. He just needed to find her. When he bumped into her, he knew what he must do. He pulled her with him as he sprinted through the night, trying to separate himself and Renshalla from the monster. So the feedback requested was where I think this story is going. So we look at the very opening bit, and we're seeing a very clear dichotomy between an old versus a new world. An old world of evil spirits and nature, and a new world of civilization and religion. William, apart from the rest of his town, William is close to nature. The old world wants to protect him. He is on the side of nature. He is desired by the old world. The old world wants William to become a part of itself. He is not there yet, but he is on his way. He is literally walking down the path to the old world at the beginning of the story. And the pleading of the new world, represented by his Pop, is not enough to keep him from it. The new world desires William also, wants to keep him away from the old world. William is opposed by the old world and abused by it. He's oppressed. Everybody's always making him do their stuff. His whole life has been dictated by the new world. He is the son of a cobbler. He's the son of a cobbler 8 unbroken generations, and he's even the 6th person to be called William. His entire life has been decided for him. He feels as if the universe is doing so, in fact. And he's good at it. The new world entices him by making him really good at a thing of civilization. And the townspeople are often requesting him for personal projects, making his workload large. They keep him so busy he must stay in the new world, and his father does the same, making him take on his workload so that he can attend church gatherings. And his father is really I don't know, between Pop and his father, they are both very much fixed on keeping the new world in power. Pop knows of the old world. Pop has some knowledge of it, and he, in his elderly wisdom, tells William to stay away from it. And that would be good advice for anybody who isn't William. Father is representing the religious aspect of civilization in the New World. and the two of them want William. But William keeps his promises. And William keeping his promise is what makes him set off on this journey. Really what we see with Henderson is just more of the same. The black fingers of the bush consume the light of civilization, offer concealment to William. Nature protects William from civilization. Mullet and Henderson are the gatekeepers of this gate between the worlds. Even Mullet the dog, a dog being a creature of nature, it has been hurt by a wilder sort of nature. The dog, which is, man's best friend, the domesticated animal. The domesticated animal is savaged by the beast of the old world. And so the dog knows to stay away. Nature is not his place. And, as a gatekeeper, Henderson's a pretty poor one. He says, come on, this road is always creepy. And William continues on. At this point, he is being warned by the world. The thorns pull at his clothes. The roots of the bushes and trees hinder his movements, but he is patient and determined. His promise is what keeps him going. This is the kind of person William is. And the oppression of the New World is what hardens William, actually. The oppression of the New World is what drives into him that he must keep his promises and tells him it's okay to endure the pain put upon him on his way to the Old World. I like this sentence here. He cleared the woods and stood in the open in the cool night air. The full moon illuminated him as he broke from the tree line. It's just nice. I love this right here. William straightened his back, striding with the confidence reserved for kings returning from a battle well fought. The night's air's cold tongue licked at his scratches, numbing the pain, the breeze lazily pushing leaves out of his path. My favorite part of this whole thing is this paragraph. The path is devoid of life. It has only one destination. Many of the townsfolk believe it to be the way to the Old World. They describe it in very dark terms. It's about the defiler's house to become a sacrifice. William doesn't care. He's a person who keeps his promises. Interestingly, the girl Wren, she is afraid of William. We get a bit of nice description here. This is the beautiful girl. And this is where we see our big conflict come back. It's a conflict between the New World, the Old World. William represents the new, Wren represents the old. William is unafraid of her, but she is afraid of him, which is counter to what their nature would describe. She is the monstrous creature of the old. She should be trying to eat him, but she's the one who's scared. So where I think this is going, this is set up as a relationship story between Wren and William, probably romantic since he thinks of her as pretty. He calls her pretty. It's Romeo and Juliet-ish. They each represent two worlds that are opposed to each other, that are enemies. The aspects that I am guessing are going to come out are the magic of the old world versus the religion of the new world. William is never shown belonging to the new world, really. And the new world is not at all shown with redeeming features. We see how they abused him, how they just kept piling things on him, how they just try to dictate his whole life. The only person who belongs to the new world is his mother. William loved his mother. She adored the boy more than he could ever know. But as we saw at the very beginning of the story, she was dead. She passed at some point. His father had thrown himself at any chance to partake in the ritual of spiritual renewal. It's possible, we don't know from this snippet, that his mother was in some way part of the old world. Pop had some knowledge of it. It could be that William's mother was his daughter. She could have some connection to it. She might be a witch, which would again put the religious versus magic angle on it. And in any event, because the mother is dead, there is nothing that can lay valuable claim to William. And so I'm guessing that William is probably going to join in the old world or convince the new world to accept the old. Though we do see, of course, the darkness of the old world. It's not just meaningless propaganda. Wren does want to eat him. Her people do eat humans. It was there again, her prey returns. Whenever William is crying, that's when she wants to eat him, to chomp on his fingernails and rip up his skin and just devour him. And it is William's promise of protection. It's his will to help and to protect that saves him, ostensibly. We don't see the end of the scene, but it's what probably saves him and Renchala and is likely going to be the core of the climax of the whole story. His promise to either Renshalla or to somebody is going to be the reason that the day is saved, or we have our tragic ending or whatever. I don't think it likely that either of them are going to die. Or if William does die, he's going to be reborn as a spirit to live in the old world or something like that. So I enjoy this. The sort of pagan-y, foresty, dark spirits thing. I love that aesthetic. I love reading stories like that. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes, Jolly Angel. Thank you for submitting and you listening. You have any constructive criticism for Angel, or you just want to drop a comment. If you have something you would like to submit, drop a comment, hit me up, and we'll see what we can do. Thank you for watching.